I started reselling when I was 14, made my first £1,000 at 14. My mum was like, what did he make this money? Doing very big numbers with it, 27 grand profit in 1 month.
At how old?
17. There's that aspect of it where it's like hunger from a young age where I didn't have enough, always wanted more.
If you had to choose between being wealthy, unhappy, and unfulfilled, or poor, but you're fulfilled and you're happy?
That's a tough one.
What's up, guys, and welcome to the SJ Show, where we discuss maximizing our potential in every aspect of life. Before we get into it, if you could leave a like and subscribe, it would really be appreciated. Today, we have a special guest. We have a 19-year-old e-commerce six-figure entrepreneur who has been very successful in the last couple of years in e-commerce. We're going to get to know a little bit about his life, and without further ado, we're going to get straight into it. How you doing, Rayyan?
I'm good, bro.
Thank you for coming on the show, bro.
All good, G. All good.
So before we actually get into the depths of it, if you could just give a quick 30 to 60 second summary into who you are and what you've basically been doing for the last year.
All right, cool. So my name is Rayyan. I'm 19. I've been doing Etsy dropshipping for the past year. However, I've been working for myself doing different hustles since I was 14. So for the past 5 years, essentially.
So right now, what are you doing?
So right now I'm doing Etsy dropshipping.
And how's that been going?
It's been all right. It's been a rocky journey. It was very smooth sailing at the start. Took a bit of a decline, but we came back. And now I'm at a pretty good position. So now I'm just like looking into different things, diversifying, etc.
So you're 19 years old and you're already doing six figures a year, huh?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's a bit mad.
It's really cool. I mean, if someone else young was watching this podcast, right, and wanted to sort of follow your path, what would be the 3 biggest bits of advice that you would give someone who wanted to follow this path to start so early?
So I would say there's 3 things. Me personally, I wouldn't recommend focusing on the cash too much as a younger person. So I'd say until you're 18, you don't need to really worry about cash. For me, it was the cash essentially almost came to me in a sense where it was I would do different things and I'd identify opportunities to make money. So I was very into like sneakers and Supreme, all that hype beast era. Then I was like, wait, this costs £200, but on StockX they're selling for £800, £1,000. So if I buy this, I can make profit on it. And I was like, all right, cool. Sell it, get the profit. Then I can buy this clothes and I can buy this. Basically, yeah.
So you've always been quite cash-centric from a young age, right? Like you've always been looking for opportunities.
Like very much so. I've always been, from a very young age, I've always been like obsessed with money. Like it was to the point where my mum would shout at me like, you're too obsessed with money. And I've always loved money, like not in like a bad sense, but I've always had like the hunger for
like
cash.
You want to make money. You've always wanted.
Yeah.
Where do you think that comes from? And the reason I asked that question is because for me it was a little bit different, right? Like I'm 25 now, so I've been I started my career quite late in terms of from the entrepreneurial side of things with a law degree and all that. But from a young age, I never thought about like trying to make money on the side. I never thought about money at all. Like my focus was always, my parents said go to school, go get a degree. Like I never thought outside of that. So what do you think allowed you to have that sort of mindset from such a young age? Was it inbuilt within you? Was it your sort of surroundings? How did it work?
It was like instilled in me from young. So like one thing my dad always told me growing up is work for your meal. So it's always like, you're not deserving of anything. You need to work to get what you want. And then it's also like the way upbringing, environment, where I lived, East London, deprived area. Parents were always working. Like, of course, they've given me everything that like they could. Like, shout out to them, of course. But then it's like, there's always things that I wanted that I couldn't necessarily have. So I'd go out of my way to find a way because I can't just sit there and sulk that my parents can't get it for me. It's not their fault. So I'd find ways to try and get it myself, essentially.
Interesting. Did you go to college?
Yeah, I did go to college. So sixth form, or I think it's high school for the Americans out there. So yeah, I did go college, but I didn't really go college. So I've got no grades.
One of those.
Didn't graduate.
Oh, really? Okay, so you went to college, but what, did you just fail your exams or you drop out?
Flunked them all. I didn't drop out, I just flunked them all. I stayed in college just to make my parents happy because if I dropped out, they would have shit their pants.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me just continue with it and then be like, yo, look, this is what I'm doing. This is how much I've made, whatever, This is the direction I'm headed.
I mean, yeah, because then I was going to ask if because I was basically going to ask you, so your parents were okay with you not going to uni, but then I just realized like you probably weren't able to go to uni.
I can't even go uni now if I wanted to.
So how do your parents like, okay, so you flunk your A-levels. How did your parents take that?
So for my parents, it wasn't the biggest issue in the world. but it was at the same time. So, for example, they've always known I've been a bit more money centric from a young age. Then, for example, I started reselling when I was 14, made my first £1,000 at 14. My mum was like, what the did he make this money? And then from there, it was doing it more, and she started to understand it more. And she started to understand that my focus was more outside of the education scope and more doing my own thing, right? And then as I got older, I took it more seriously. So 17, when I started college, or 16, turned 17, I started like doubling down with reselling and going crazy with reselling, doing very big numbers with it, 27 grand profit in 1 month, flipping these watches. It was a crazy month, man.
How old?
17.
27K profit.
Yeah, within that 6 month period from like January 1st, 2022 till around July 2022, I made about, I would say, over £70,000 just from reselling. It was like taking a lot of my time, so
You did this all by yourself?
by myself, yeah.
How?
So obviously I knew a lot about reselling, and I've always been good at speaking, right? So I did a lot of online reselling, bots, whatever. That was one aspect of it. But then going in person to in stores, you can go and just buy one pair, that's fine. But what you can't do is get 20 pairs from one store. However, if you know people at the store and you get sweet with them, offer them money, then you can get more pairs, just slide them a £5 per pair type of thing. So you do that. And then the Omega Moon swatches, so there was these watches, right? Buy them for 200 and was selling them for over £1,700.
How did you know to do that? Like, how did you know it was this watch to flip?
So obviously there's a lot of hype around them to begin with before they got dropped. And then people started camping outside. So then within the first week, I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to this, 100%. So I'd get there the day before, 8 p.m., 6 p.m., wait till 10 a.m. the next morning, sitting there in your chair in the freezing cold, just waiting just to get the watches. We had the security on payroll, right? And he would give us the information. So he'd be like, don't come today, they don't have stock. Or come today, we've got stock. And then I was also blessed with the area manager. Shout out Christian, right? He'd bless me as well. So yeah, that was one aspect of that whole reselling segment of my life.
I mean, so okay, you said you made £27,000 profit in one month at 17. Walk me through the operations to get you to that level where you're doing that. And if you were doing that, why are you not still reselling now?
Because it's very quick cash. That's one thing I'll say. Reselling is very quick cash. And it was more of a volume type of thing, and it was high returns. So it's not something that was always able to be replicated, because then obviously demand gets met, then the supply goes higher, etc., etc. So it's more of like a lucky type of thing, whereas like I was putting in the work, I identified the opportunity, I made my money from it. And then from then, like 2022, reselling has essentially been on a decline. So I started reselling back in 2018. So for about the first 2 years, from 2018 to 2020, reselling was really good. High margins with everything, right? But then more people found out about it, and then people would just undercut everyone, and the margins just got less and less and less. And it just didn't become worth it for me, because I'd be waking up at 2 a.m. going in store, right? Queuing up just to make £100, £200 in a day. To me, that's not worth it, because I'm not getting any sleep. I'd literally go college straight after, put my head on the desk, wake up when the lessons ended, go home. Sleep, wake up, go back to central London, do the same thing again.
Just repeat. But then hard to scale.
Yeah, scaling is possible, like it is very doable. But for me, the effort and time it requires is not worth it, because you don't have time freedom and you don't have location freedom. And they're two things I want. Like financial freedom, that's so easy to achieve, but time and location freedom aren't. And that was one thing I wanted. So I was like, forget reselling, let's find something else to do.
So did you go straight from reselling into Etsy dropshipping?
No, I had a dry period for a bit.
Okay.
I had a very dry period. That was like a dark time in my life.
What, when you were 18?
Yeah, I was 17 still.
Okay, it's just 2 years ago.
Yeah. So it was essentially, had a dry period. Everything went tits up. No more cash coming in. Just spending all my money, because like it was the first time I had big amounts of cash. So just spending. Then I was like, I need to make money, but there was no way, because I was going through a dry period. And then other shit happened, like life happens, whatever. So then I had to get myself out of that rut, essentially. Just started working on myself, self-betterment journey type of thing. And then eventually I came across Etsy dropshipping, and then yeah.
How did you come across Etsy dropshipping?
So I came across Etsy dropshipping on Twitter, just scrolling, and I came across Craig. And I was like, all right, cool, I've heard of Shopify dropshipping. What's Etsy dropshipping? And then I watched one of his videos, like, all right, cool, this seems pretty legit. Craig seems like a very genuine guy. shot him a message and joined.
You do seem to be the person who's just very much, you'll just go into something. You find something, you resonate with it, you go straight into it, right? Most people, me included, like right at the start of my journey, one of the most difficult things was not knowing what business model I wanted to do, right? Like we know now everything works. As long as you commit to one thing for a long period of time, everything works, right? But if someone was at the start of their journey, or they were working in a 9 to 5, or they didn't want to go to school, university, and they want to go down this entrepreneurial path, and with the internet money and the era that we're currently in, what sort of advice could you give to someone who wanted to start this journey themselves? How do they find the business model for them to start with?
I would say just start something, because if you don't start, you don't know where you're going wrong, and you don't know what to work on, and you don't know what to do. So, for example, see what matches you best if you can see. So, for example, if you're good at speaking, if you're good at sales, but if you're very analytical, maybe possibly going into e-com essentially. So start from there, and then you can always change. Obviously, don't change too much, but if you see results, stick with it, right? So it's not going to be as straightforward. You're not going to see the results instantly. You're going to have to put in work. Like for me, for the first 2 months of Etsy dropshipping, I was doing 16-hour days, no sleep. Like I can have 2-3 hours of sleep, go college, come back, grind. And before I saw any results, it's a mixture of hard work and actually understanding what you're good at. And I feel like you need to understand yourself. Not many people understand themselves because they never had any time to themselves. So essentially just take 2 weeks, think about what you're good at, work backwards as well. If you want time freedom, location freedom, all of that, work
reverse
backwards.
engineer.
Yeah. So just reverse engineer the whole process.
Yeah.
See what that, like, for example, if you're doing e-com, what skills are needed for that? How many of them skills do you have essentially? And then you know, all right, cool, I've already got the base skills just from life itself. It'll be easier for me to start this because, for example, if you're doing e-com and then there's sales, they're not directly linked. So you can't just, some people that are good at e-com won't be good at sales. Some people that are good at sales won't be good at e-com.
Yeah.
So you need
But
to
essentially just stick to it, right?
Yeah,
Do that one.
literally, that's what it is.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would add to that, right, which I think is very important, is you need to know what you as an individual want, right? Like, you might not want money, and if you don't want money, there's nothing wrong in working a 9 to 5. Like
Exactly,
maybe
yeah.
you just want to have a good body. Maybe you just want to have the weekends to spend with your family. Like maybe you do just want to have a chilled life, but be more maybe literate and read more and things like that. And
Exactly,
I think what I realized myself was, to an extent, you go down this path, but if you don't know who you want to become, it's very hard to follow the path, right? Where if you have an idea of the person you want to be and you have faith in this vision of who you want to become, then you're able to build that path. It won't be easy, but you can. And I think on your point of, you said, take a couple weeks, just sit down and find out what you want to do. I completely agree with that. And I'd go one step further and I would say, take those 2 weeks, but change your environment. Get yourself out of where you currently are. Put yourself in a position that you've never been before. Maybe go on a holiday. Maybe just go get yourself some small little Airbnb.
Just go to the forest.
Yeah,
Go to-
best nature,
just
yeah.
Put yourself in the middle of nowhere, 2 weeks to yourself. You're going to either die or you're going to survive. And when you get out, you're going to be like, holy shit, I had a near-death experience. I know what I want to do now. Just go out and do it.
It's so true. It's so true. You have to change your environment, because the thing is, even if you want change, if you're not going to change the things around you, you're not actually going to be able to implement that change.
Exactly. So one thing for me, it is very cliche, 4 a.m. cold showers. No, it's hella cliche, but it did work wonders for me. I'll be so honest.
Did or does?
It did.
So what about now?
I'm not gay.
So you're preaching to people to do cold showers, but you don't do it.
If you're broke and you have no clue what you want to do with yourself and you have no discipline and you're useless as a human being, I'll be so honest, because that's what I was, right? I would say
Do uncomfortable things.
do uncomfortable things, taking yourself out your comfort zone. So waking up at 4 a.m., then going gym straight away. So I'd wake up at 4 a.m., back a Red Bull, have a cigarette, gym, cigarette, Red Bull, come back, pray. Then I just start just chilling, working. And then because of that, it's a mindset shift.
Yeah.
That's what you want. It's not about actually doing it. Having cold showers is going to do for you. Waking up at 4 a.m. isn't going to do anything for you. Mindset shift itself, that does the wonders.
Yeah.
That's what it was for me. It wasn't like, I'm going to get rich having cold showers and waking up at 4 a.m. It was, let me just put myself in a different environment. Because I was in college. I can't necessarily just go on holiday for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's a situation of, let me just try and change my mindset, have that mindset shift, and that's what worked for me. What worked for me might not work for others, but I would just say it's a start, essentially.
I think that's something that every person should understand, that wherever you want to develop in life, whatever facet you want to improve about yourself, one of the biggest ways to bring improvement and self-development is to be uncomfortable. I think there's this huge misconception that your happiness is proportionate to how comfortable you are, but it's not true, because you're not chasing happiness. Happiness is a chemical that's released in your brain, right? You're chasing fulfillment. Exactly. Yeah. I used to think myself that being comfortable is the right answer, because you go through systems your whole life. You go through rigid routines, 9 to 5, 9 to 3 at school, post weekly activities. Like everything's fixed. And being comfortable doesn't equate to fulfillment and achieving the best version of yourself. And that's what I realized is people are too scared to become uncomfortable. And that's why most people never actually achieve their potential.
Exactly. Pressure makes diamonds, as simple as that.
That's the
Because
thing.
then the thing is, a lot of people find happiness like going Thailand, just sitting on the beach. For me, that's not happiness. For some people, that might be. Happiness has different definitions to everyone.
Yeah. Happiness isn't the thing that we should be chasing. Happiness is a consequence of things that happen in life, right? Yeah. I would say you're going to be happy, you're going to be sad. Like whether you're comfortable, you're uncomfortable, whether your life is good or bad, there's always going to be times where you're going to have happiness. If someone dies, you're not going to be happy, right? It's fulfillment that we need to be chasing. Like that's the thing that people don't realize. And fulfillment is so subjective. Like it's so subjective. Like what is fulfilling for me doesn't have to be fulfilling for you. What's fulfilling for me doesn't have to be, it's very different. But once you understand what makes you fulfilled, then you can build a life that revolves around that. And that's what's important.
Exactly.
Right?
I agree.
Something that I really wanted to talk to you about. So for those of you still watching, we actually know each other quite well. We met through a network and we've been good friends ever since. And, always behind the cameras, you talk about very interesting stories, and some of them none of us ever believe, some of them we do. But it made me realize, because when I think back to some of the things that you've told about your upbringing, where you've grown up and how that's shaped you, it's pretty crazy. And I think I want you to talk a little bit about your childhood in terms of where you grew up, the people you hung around with, and sort of how that's impacted your life now, both positively and negatively.
Obviously, I grew up in East London. I won't say where just because it's not necessary, but East London, in the ghetto, basically. Like, for me, growing up, primary school, I went to a primary school, more of a posher area. So and then secondary school and college is where most of my life experiences come from. Like the people I know, what's happened, what's not happened. So secondary school, I basically went to secondary school in in the ghetto, basically. That's what it was, essentially. That's the best way to put it. It was in the hood. Right.
Well, when you say in the hood, right, for those wondering whether you're just exaggerating or not, what do you mean? Like with lots of like crime,
gang
stabbing?
Members, all of it stabbings, yeah. Like people would bring knives to school.
But like things that you would see or things that you were involved in?
Seen and involved in. So like I was 14 and I knew multiple people in my school carrying knives. In secondary school, that's not even in college. College is a different story completely, right?
Isn't that scary?
The thing is, it is and it isn't, because you know that it's not going to be used on you because you're in school, obviously. And it's also a situation of they're carrying it for different reasons. They're not doing it to inflict damage. They have it on them, so if anything happens, they're all right. Because I feel like a lot of people have this misconception that everyone that carry knives is just going to attack a civilian, when more time it's a situation of if someone that doesn't like them sees them, an issue is going to arise. And if they've got a knife and they don't, you're so it's like, you rather be the hunter than be hunted, essentially. So then it's like self-defense in a sense. Obviously, it's not great, it's not right, but that's the world we live in, isn't it? Getting involved in the wrong crowd is one thing that happened to me. So starting around with more like fun, misbehaving in school, all that standard stuff. Then it quickly escalated to then I was in year 8 and year 9 doing like making money in dodgy methods. So nothing like drug dealing, nothing like that.
So then what type?
So it was more like online
frauding.
Yeah, kinda, I guess.
Delivery scams.
Nah.
If you know, you know.
So basically, I was in year 9 clearing like £500 a week just from that. It's like, all right, cool, whoa.
It's more than most people make now.
Yeah. So it's like 2K a month, isn't it? Yeah. Having a dodgy income in a sense, but I would excuse it. Oh, it's a big company. They don't pay tax. Da da da.
But were you doing that because you actually needed the money, or were you doing that just because your friends around you were doing that?
It was more of a situation where I just enjoyed money, the thrill, and I was the one that sort of put them on, kind of thing. But then so that's happened, and then a lot of my friends, as we got a bit older, a lot of them got more involved in like the gang affiliations, gang violence, whatever.
Drug dealing
as well. Yeah, so a lot of my old friends, drug dealers, whatever. Then by the time I was in year 10, so 15 years old, majority of them had been kicked out of school. Majority of them were in like units, is what we call them, where it's like whatever. A lot of them were drug dealing. And then college. So for me, it was like a way to almost distance myself from all of that, because one thing I will say is I probably would have ended up being one of them people if it wasn't for how I was raised by my parents and my religion. That's the two things that protected me from all the like.
But how did you get away?
So it was more. It was more like friends than anything. So it was like in school you chill with them, but outside of school I wouldn't. Right.
But you used to, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say was the catalyst of change?
So for me, the catalyst of change was, so in college, it was like almost a way to distance myself from everyone. Like that was.
But why? Did you just, did conscience finally hit you, or?
Conscience has always had hit me from like when I was in year 10. So COVID happened when I was 15 years old. That was one way I distanced. So it was like, I got a break from all of that. Then I was like, just doing my own thing, reselling, making a straight income. Because yeah, pretty much just making a straight income, playing games, just being surrounded by different people. And then also I just started delving into religion a lot more, got very close to God. Then I realized like these people aren't going to take me far. Like if I'm friends with these people, cool, I might be happy for a couple years, making dumb money, whatever, cool. But then after that, I'm like, these people, some of them have gone to jail now. It's like, I don't want to be like that.
Could have been you.
Yeah, exactly. So then college came around. So then after COVID times came around, I distanced from them, started doing my own thing, started chilling with new people in college. And then that was all right. And then it was more in college. It was like I knew them. I would say hi, hello. We'd have conversations. But I had my own group of people and we were like very chill. We'd do our own thing, whatever. Right? So that was fine. So then, yeah, pretty much. It was just like even to this day, I still know them. Like a lot of my old, like 2-3 of my old friends are in jail. A couple of my friends have been killed. So then, yeah.
Damn. I mean, do you have any regrets?
Nah, not really. I like to say, not it's cliche, not living with regrets, but
Learning.
They're teaching moments, because me as well, I learn through experience.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, and I have to go to the extreme to fully like learn the lesson in my head.
Why?
Fuck knows.
I've noticed this about you, and I actually want to touch on this, right? Like, you are the type of person, you're either all in, you're all out, right? Sometimes that's really good. Sometimes it's a bit
it's a bit bad.
Controversial, yeah. Right? And I want to understand why. Why do you have to be all in to learn the mistake? Like because let's be real, right? Before you're about to commit that thing, you know it's wrong. But why is it that you have to go all in to actually, like, why?
I honestly couldn't tell you. Maybe someone will be able to tell us who in the comments, whatever. But it's ever since young, I'd always just go to the extreme with everything. Like even my mum would like shout at me like, you always take things to the extreme. Why are you doing this? Da, 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 da. So that's just always how I've been in a sense. Like I've never really looked into it too much because I don't know what it'll do.
Do you think it's an asset or a liability?
It's both. Because I can do something new and just all in, like a new business model. Within the first 2 weeks, I would have seen results. But most people wouldn't see results within the first 3 months. But then it's also a liability that when it comes to, if I start doing the wrong things and I go all in, so let's say, for example, let's say I started doing cocaine. I'm not just going to do a little bit here and there.
Yeah, you're going to go all in, overdose, yeah.
I'm going to go all in. Next thing you know, I'm coked out, type of thing.
See, so the thing is, right, there's a lot of people like you, right? I'm similar. I always think if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all in, right? Like I quit my consulting job to go full-time into e-com after just 100 sales, no profit, just proof of concept. And, but it's like that pressure, it either makes diamonds or it allows you to fall, right? The question that I would ask you is because more often than not, you use that as a positive for yourself rather than a negative, right? But the people who do go to the extremes, like other people who think like that, how would you advise them to make sure that if they have that tendency to use it for good rather than for bad?
It's the people you surround yourself with, I'll be so honest. Because the people you surround yourself with, the environment you're in plays a big part in that. So if you're going to the extreme, let's say you're in a mansion living with 4 millionaires, right? And you're going to all in, you're all straight hitters, the people around you are clean, not doing anything wrong, they're great people. you are not going to go wrong because they're going to keep you on track. And then by living with them, you're going to start doing what they're doing and you're going to be able to catch up, etc. So it's essentially just the environment and also mindset as well. So like for me, one thing I've had to do is like teach myself a lot and actually understand a lot. So it's like I don't do the wrong things to the extreme. So there's been times I've been offered like great money to do something that's not great, and I knew I could make loads of money, but then it's like I could do this, but then is it worth it? What's the repercussions? And it's like if I have to worry about that, then it's not worth doing type of thing.
I think you got it bang on the money when you said mindset and environment. And I think people don't realize that mindset is everything, but your environment shapes your mindset.
Exactly.
Because I think what I didn't actually realize until very recently is that what you take in, 60% of it is your subconscious surroundings, right? Which means what? Which means that your environment plays a huge impact on how your mindset works. So if I sit here and say, I want to make change and I want to make my life better, but I'm still living in the same house, I've still got the same routine, I'm still working the same job, I'm still having the same day-to-day schedule, how am I going to change, right? You are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with most. And I think that shows just how important environment is. And I think that actually leads me to my next question, because I did want to ask you about this because I've noticed this, and I mean, it's how we became friends, but talk to me about the power of networking and how important it is versus locking yourself in your room, putting your head down and just focusing on growing your business.
I would say you need a bit of both. So you need to be able to put in the hard work and you need to be able to speak to people. So for me, I would say I'm quite lucky in the sense that I knew how to make money and I knew how to identify opportunities from a young age. And I've also been very, very sociable. Like even when I was really young, I'd go up to random people, I'd have conversations, whatever. Like even if it was kids, like at the restaurant, most kids that are 4 years old are scared to order their own food, stuff like that, or ask, oh, can I have this? But I was fine to do it. I was keen to do it. That was like one thing that I was always all right with, and making money as well. So I would say networking is key. However, if you're broke, get network is your net worth out of your head, right? Because you could know a millionaire, but because if you're broke, you can't use that millionaire to your advantage. So I would say it's a mixture of both.
I would push back a little bit on that. And you know why? Because I would say that if you're broke and you know a millionaire, it's not that you can't use them to your advantage, because I would say you can provide that millionaire with a ton of value.
Provide value, yeah, I believe that.
In isolation, a network in isolation without the work being put in.
Exactly, because then if you have no money,
what's the point?
Let's say, like if you had a bit of money, like let's say you had 50 grand to your name, right? And you knew a millionaire, you can then work something out and you can have a business, like you can make a partnership that can make you a lot more money. But if you have $0, you're providing sole value to that millionaire and all you're getting in return is knowledge, which is great, right? But then if you can make a bit of cash on the side, it's even better. So I would say grind for a bit, network, but try and find a balance of both. So like for me, like expanding my network very quickly was like the start of last year when I turned 18. Started putting my head down, grinding, and also networking with other people. So in the daytime, I'd be grinding. Then I'd go out at night, meet with like a bunch of people that are like on the same path as me, like-minded, all of that.
Okay, so if I'm at the start of my journey and I'm someone at home watching this and I want to start this journey on bettering myself, and maybe let's say for the sake of this example, I want to become an entrepreneur, right? I really want to quit my 9 to 5. I want to start making money and I want to start building a new network, because now I know I have to change my friends and surroundings. But I have £0. Okay, I have no money in the bank. I have nothing. How would I go about starting?
One thing I would say is, to begin with, changing your mindset is free, right? Changing your mindset is free. So focus on try and change your mindset as much as possible.
How?
So it can be through many means. So for example, watching videos, reading books. It can also just be speaking to the right people. So if you do know people who are doing better than you, speak to them, because there's been situations where old friends have seen me and we've had like a half an hour conversation. They're like, what? You've blown my mind. Like you've opened my eyes so much within a half an hour conversation. Then they've gone home and they've applied a bit of what I've told them. So even if it's 30%, it's still made a positive change, right? So if you can have them conversations, that's great. It's also watching YouTube videos. Obviously, don't take it to the extreme and take all the information direct. Like, oh yeah, I have to do this now because Imran Gadji said it. Or Tate said this, so I have to do it. Don't do that. Watch all of them equally, find what is best applied to you and what suits you the best, because you are not Tate, you're not Imam Gadzi, you're not these people, you're your own person, so find what works for you. Obviously, they're giving their recipe out, but that's not going to work for everyone. So that's one way you can change your mindset, is through watching videos. A lot of this is how I essentially changed my mindset. But now, that was when I was a bit young, so like 16, 17. Like a lot of Tate videos, a lot of...
Even older, I would
Yeah.
agree. That's how I started.
So then, but for me, it was like after that, it essentially became myself that was giving myself the mindset change and teaching myself, because the people I was surrounding myself with, and then I understood what I wanted. So I understood. Everyone knows what they want and everyone knows what to think. They just enjoy it when they're told it. So if you can tell yourself that, you're set. If you can do that, if you can tell yourself what you need to hear, you are going to help yourself tremendously, because there's not always going to be people around you. You've only got yourself in that sense, right? So it's great when you have people to hold you up, pick you up, but also be able to pick yourself up, because if you're in a rut and you've got no one, you're going to need yourself only. So
I couldn't agree more, right? At the end of the day, humans are intrinsically built to be selfish, right? Like, there's no arguing that.
Yeah.
Everyone's number one priority is themselves. Even if you're trying to help someone else and you're trying to be charitable, that's still
value out of it.
exactly, that's still
You're
an
not
act of
doing it for free.
selfishness.
You're getting something.
You're doing
out
it to
of
make yourself feel good, right? That in itself, like every act that we do has some form of subconscious selfishness, even if we don't believe it. And
Yeah.
you need to just, like you said, you need to be accountable, self-accountable. You need to make sure that you're very self-critical. You need to be the toughest critic of yourself, because no one else will be, right? Take some time to actually think, because I was thinking about this the other day, right? And most of my creative ideas, like the things that just pop into my brain and I think, oh, I could do this. Like, I'm most creative when I'm showering.
Yeah.
Why?
No,
And
the point is, I'm not the most creative when I'm showering. I just have... The intrusive thoughts come out when I'm showering.
Okay. That's not what I meant. Anyway, the point is, right? The point where I was saying that though is I was thinking and I was like, why do I come up with these like amazing ideas only when I'm in the shower?
One thing for me is when I'm on walks, I have that type of thought process, like creativity.
Do you know why?
Because it's mundane human tasks. It allows me your brain to think more.
Because you have no gadgets around you. Let me tell you why, right? So what happens every time you swipe on your phone? Every time you open your phone, you're releasing dopamine. Exactly. Every time you're on your phone, you're releasing dopamine. But not just that. People 100 years ago didn't have phones, right? They didn't have any of this technology around them. So they were coming up with all these things and all the solutions and all the inventions through their ingenuity, right? When you become so reliant on a device to give you the answers, like think about it. I don't know everything in my head. I have a to-do list on my phone. I want to know something. Hey Siri, like it's easy. And what you start to realize is the more you start to become dependent on this gadget, the more you stop actually thinking for yourself. And that's the biggest issue in society today.
I agree with that.
Don't think. And I'm not saying, oh, don't use gadgets and don't use technology, because technology is one of the most efficient ways to scale and improve your business and improve any part of life, right? But you have to get back in touch with roots. Like, you know, all those people who say, oh, I meditate and this every morning. Like, I used to crap on it and I used to like make fun of it because I was like, oh, you don't need to meditate. But it's like, it's not even meditate. Just
meditating is homosexual. If you sit there, and get some help. G.
It's more understand why you're meditating, right?
I'll be serious. There's different forms of meditation.
Spend 10 minutes a day in your room with no phone and just stare at the wall and see what comes to your mind. Like,
or go for a half an hour walk, or go gym, no music, no phone for an hour.
Yeah, just
it's different forms. It's essentially the same thing where it's just you. You just want a situation where it's just you, yourself, and nobody else, and you can just think.
When I look back at the last 5 years and I look at how my journey has transitioned and improved over time, I started to realize how much I was on autopilot. Like, it's crazy to me. Now I look back on it and I'm like, wow, I was on autopilot. Now every little thing, like, is this right? Is this gonna help me? Is this sufficient? But I think more now, and it sounds so basic, but it really is. Like, most people have an issue of not thinking because of
one
dopamine.
thing I've never had is because I've always been an overthinker.
Yeah.
So I've used it to my advantage. A lot of people say, don't overthink, just take action. But it's great if you're an overthinker and you pair that with having speed with your actions, because you can just do so much more than everybody else, right? So for me, one of the avenues of business I'm going into is going to make me the most money. And that was just me in my garden smoking a cigarette, just thinking through everything I can do.
Moving on, actually, I wanted to ask you, what drives you? Why are you on the path that you're currently on?
I would say there's multiple factors for that. So obviously my upbringing, like I always wanted cash just because
Why?
I would say it's a situation of like when you can't get what you want and you only have yourself that can get it, you're gonna find a way, right? So as a kid, the one thing you want most when I was younger, like at 10, 11 years old, is I want a PS4, I want a PS4. When your parents are like, no. So like, oh shit, if they're saying no, how am I gonna get it? All right, cool. I need to find 250 quid so I can get it myself. So all right, cool. I have this money saved up. What can I do to make more money? I'll do this for you for this much. I'll do this for you for this much. Like, oh yeah, let me go to my aunties or uncles. Oh yeah, can I help you out? Something, just pay me a little bit. Then saving up birthdays, whatever, any money you get, and then eventually you'll get there. And then I just bought it myself. So I was 11, bought my first PS4. Done, easy. And then my dad was like, fair play. I'm gonna buy you a game. So it's stuff like that.
Would you say it's more than that, though? I mean,
Okay, yeah, there is more to it. So there's that aspect of it where it's like hunger from a young age where I didn't have enough. Like I always wanted more. And then it's also a situation of I've always been different. Like I've never fit in anywhere. Primary school, bullied, whatever. Secondary school, didn't
really, you bullied?
Yeah. In primary school, I was bullied, yeah.
Interesting. Hey,
Yeah.
quick on.
Then secondary school, I would say in secondary school, it was more like I was just different. No one, like people were calm with me, we were all blessed, but I didn't fit into how everyone else was. So for that reason only, people didn't really me in that sense. So then it was more just like, all right, cool, let me just find something. And the only one thing for me, it's very cliche, but cash is always there, innit? People change, shit happens, but money will always stay the same. It is a bad mindset, and I don't think I'll agree with it when I'm older. But as a younger person, I think it's okay to think like that for a bit. So there's that sense. And then it's also, my whys are very, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, they're very much to do. So, for example, I just want to look after my parents. I want to look after my family. I want to have my own family. And there's, like, so many people I want to look after in that sense. So that's another why.
See, that's the goal. That's
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that making money is the goal. I would say that money is the tool that you're looking to acquire in order to get financial freedom.
Exactly, yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
Right?
But then there's also other things. So it's like, I just want to do crazy shit, bro. I want to do like, buy an island and blow it up.
So would you
You can't do that if you ain't got cash. Like, that's jokes. Imagine just.
would you say some of it is just you want to feed your ego?
Oh, I am the most egotistical being. Like, I have a big ego. So it's also that just.
How much does ego drive you?
A lot. I would say, if I was to base it, I would say it's like a 30-40% type of thing.
Would you say it's a strength or a weakness?
It is both. However, I know I've taught myself that having a big ego is good as long as you know when to swallow it and put it to the side in the situations that matter. Because if you have a big ego in situations, you're just going to get over. So that's one thing I've learned is I've had a big ego in the past and I've not put it aside when it's mattered and it's me up. But now I've understood fully through like life experience that putting your ego aside in the moments that matter is actually very, very useful.
What do you think is more important? Having a big ego or having humility on the road to becoming an entrepreneur or being an entrepreneur? Which
I
is
feel like both ways you can be successful. Having humility and having a big ego, either way, you can be successful. It's two different types of success. So the route I'm going down, I don't know how.
On Twitter, you're going down ego. In person, you're going down humility. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like you can have both. So, but then it's like humility. I am wanting to be like more in touch with humanity in a sense and be more understanding as a person. Because one thing I'll say is I have been extremely selfish with people around me, stuff like that. And I don't have a lot of, not consideration, but I don't know how to like understand other people in that sense. So for me, it's been very easy to go down the ego route, but I understand that's not the right way because I've seen the effects it's had. So like, for example, my mom telling me, oh yeah, like, please try and get grades in college. Like, please do your A-levels, at least get passing grades. Like, I'm not asking for A stars and A's, just get like C's at least. And I've realized that if you go down the ego route, you will hurt those around you, but you will make money. But going down the humility route is one thing I've learned in the past, like, couple of months as well, is this ain't the final destination, innit? So if I go down the ego route, it's like...
Do you think you can be too humble, though?
I think you can... There is a situation where you can be too humble, and I think it's stupid. Like, if you're a successful human being, for you to sit there and be like, oh, I'm a normal person. No, you're not, because you've accomplished stuff. You're an accomplished individual. For you to not take pride in your accomplishments is stupid, because then you're not giving yourself enough credibility. So I feel like you need a mix of both ego and humility.
So if you had to choose between being the most, so you could only have one, okay? If you had to choose between being the most egotistical man in the world or being the most humble person in the world, I already know the answer to this. Which one would you choose?
Egotistical, man, I'll be honest. The most egotistical. And it's not like the way I am right now, like this answer now will probably change in the future. So if we do one in the future, my answer might change. So when I'm like 21, 22, when I'm 25, it will probably change to being the most humble. But for the position I am in and the age I am, I feel like, and how I am as an individual right now, being the most egotistical human on the planet is like, yeah.
Do you think that's what serves your interests best, right?
Yeah, because I am selfish. Yeah.
We all are. I think having an egotistical mindset from the perspective of being a strong entrepreneur, strong businessman, like you can't let people take advantage of you. Perspective is everything. At the end of the day, someone who comes across from a more arrogant, confident perspective will have a better reputation than somebody who's just a walkover, right? Yeah. So I would agree that I would say having an egotistical mentality with a sprinkle of humility is
definitely. Yeah, in the right moments is because I could be the richest person on the planet, but if I go spit on a poor person, that's like if I see a poor person, I'll give him some money. Yeah. Unless they're a crackhead, in the case I'll be like, you're not getting crack from me today. And I've said that. I was walking home and as a smackhead, crackhead, whatever you want to call him, this lady offered her food. She's like, no, I want cash. And I was like, to the lady, don't give her cash. She's buying crack. And then she just looked at me with like that. Why would you do that to me? I'm like, stop doing drugs.
I want to talk a little bit about your future plans. I know you're still quite young and you're very much at the start of your journey, but you know, we spoke a little bit about what motivates you. We spoke a little bit about that sort of thing. I want to dig a little into what you have envisioned for yourself for the next 5 to 10 years, even if it's brief. You know, everyone thinks about these things. Are you the type of person who's trying to map everything out or take it on as per go basis? Because I know you're doing Etsy dropshipping now. You've been very successful with it. You've killed it over the last year. You are probably making more than most people, 90% of people in this country are making. But everyone's got to pivot and evolve and grow, right? What do the growth plans of Rayyan look like?
So for me, I don't think I'll be doing Etsy dropshipping for the next 5 to 10 years, obviously. Like, that's not very, like, doable in a sense. But for me, I'd also say it's a situation of long-term goals. So 5 to 10 years, it's like, in the next 10 years, let's say, for example, so I'll be 29, 30 when that's the case. But for me, it's more like making more money, obviously, developing as a person. Like, I want to become almost like a better individual in a sense, because I feel like the person you are can cap your ability as a human. So you need to evolve as a person so you're not bottlenecking yourself, essentially, right? So that's one thing so standard shit, right? My next 10 years, family, like start my own family, hopefully. Then cash-wise, business-wise, I haven't thought too much about it. However, I know like I'm finding different opportunities, and I feel like long term, like end game, essentially, I want to be a billionaire, right? And it's not like me just thinking, oh, it'd be cool to be a billionaire. It's something I'm genuinely serious about. So for example, I was sitting in a chicken shop with one of my friends, and he was just sitting there, and he was like, bro, like, I'm really proud of what you've done, this, that. I'm like, bro, you ain't seen nothing yet. Like, I was like to him heart to heart, I'm going to try my best and I will eventually become a billionaire. Like, I want to do it. That's just one thing.
Why? Why a billionaire?
Okay, so for example, in my family, there's a lot of millionaires. Like, the youngest person in my family to be a millionaire was like, I want to say 30.
So you can be 100 millionaire.
Yeah, but that's boring. Like,
why billion?
Because then I can do, it's not just the fact that I've got a billion, like it is also an ego rub type of thing, but then there's so much I can do with that. Like I can help.
But we've spoken to lots of people, right, who all will say once you get past like 20, 30, 40, 50 million, like there's not much more money you can buy.
But yeah, that's true. I'll find it out for myself, obviously, but
when you get to that billion,
exactly.
Hit me up.
But bro, I just it's just being a billionaire is just something that not many people think about, and I feel like I want to be not different to everyone, but so many people are millionaires now. Like, we live in a bubble where I don't even find it crazy anymore that I'm friends with millionaires now, right?
Yeah.
So if I want to be different, all right, cool, I can be different from 90% of the UK. But how do I be different from 90% of the millionaires I know? Being a billionaire, that's one way. So then it's just stuff like that.
I've actually noticed you've touched upon this quite a few times throughout this podcast. It's actually very interesting to me. Why do you need to be so different? Like, what is this thing in you that makes you want to be so different? I mean, see, because I think the thing that I'm struggling to understand is how being different aligns with you leveling up. You know, like, why do you have to be different? How does that satisfy any purposes of yours?
It's almost a thing of, I don't like being like anyone else. Like, I don't enjoy the idea. Like, even if someone has the same name as me, I don't like them instantly.
But here's
like,
the thing, right?
I just don't like being similar to people because fuck knows it's probably something.
Yeah, but here's the
childhood,
thing. Like, you
whatever.
said, I want to be a billionaire because I want to be different to everyone else, right? Even when you become a billionaire, you're never going to be
Yeah, but
other
here's the
billionaires.
thing.
There's always someone.
There's like 500 billionaires in the world, but there's like there's probably like more than a million.
But why is it so important to have to be different from everyone else? How does that add value to your own life?
I enjoy the idea of being different to everyone, and then people are like, oh shit, that's Rayyan. Like, it is mainly just an ego thing. I'll be
So
so
you'd say it's an
honest.
ego boost.
It is everything I do, like a lot of the things I do, majority of the things I do are just based off ego alone. So it is mainly just an ego thing. I don't like being similar to other people. Obviously, there's like situation where it's calm and I'm okay with the fact, but it's like on a day-to-day basis. It's like if I'm walking on the street and I have a car and someone's got the same car as me, I'm like, need a better car.
See, you know what I would say to you? I would say, instead of asking yourself, how can I be different? You should be asking yourself, how does what I do have impact?
Yeah, that is a very good point. That is a very good point. And what I mean by different is not like first yeah, right? It's not like that, but it's like
get to 100 subscribers.
oh shit, cut that out. Shit, my bad. My bad, I forgot we're on YouTube. When I mean different, it's like not being like crazily different, right? It's just doing different things. If I do the same as everyone else, I might get better results, I might not. Everything's always changing. So it's like, if I try a different route that no one's tried before, I could see results no one's seen before. That's one way. So it's like, I've always found ways to do things differently, right? So, for example, in school, I never revised, never did any of that bullshit, never needed to, right? I was quite naturally smart. Got all 8s and 9s in GCSEs, right? Which is A's and A stars. stars and A stars for...
Damn.
Yeah. So it was more for me, it's like, all right, cool. I didn't have to put much effort in to do this or well. I would also say it's almost to play to my advantages as well. So me like wanting to be different, it pushes me. It's like, all right, cool. At my age range right now, how many people are doing what I'm doing, right? It's that part of the ego is not great. I'll be honest, like it doesn't really add value to your life that much because at the end of the day, there is going to be someone like you who's doing better than you. But apart from the ego side of things, when it comes to like me wanting to be different, it's just almost like doing things that no one's ever done before and trying to be like
One of a
amazing
kind.
Across everything, just being top tier and everything, right? So then it's like I've done something and I'm doing things that no one's ever done before. So it like adds a different aspect to yourself.
I think it's very interesting though, because I think the recurring theme I've definitely seen, that something that, if I'm not mistaken, seems to really drive you, is this focus on wanting to be different in a greater way, right? It's like, I want to be different to everyone else, but I want to achieve greatness,
Yeah.
right? And that actually leads me to my next question, which is, at the start of your journey, do you think it's more important, or not even just at the start, at any time in life? I don't want you to give the right answer. I want you to give what you focus on, right? Do you focus more on providing value, or do you focus more on making money? Do you think there's a correlation?
It's been a mix of both. So if I'm talking from when I was 14, I focus on making cash. But then because I had no value, I'd provided no value, I had no added knowledge, and that stopped me. But for example, with Etsy dropshipping, I've made a bit of cash, provided value, made cash. And because I provided value, I then obtain knowledge from certain people that has helped me make more cash. So I feel like for me, it's been a mix of both, because you can only get so far alone and you need people along the way. Like, a lot of people out there need to get this misconception out of their head that you can make it by yourself. You're not going to make it by yourself. You can make money by yourself, sure, that's doable, but you won't be able to get far.
Life's not just about
Exactly.
making money in isolation. What's the fun of making money alone?
You
if
need
can't?
to have good people around you. You need great people around you. You need good people in your life. It's what people are. We're social beings, right? We need people in our lives. Like, if you look at people that spend all the time by themselves, majority of the time they're depressed.
Well, people don't understand that making money does not equal being wealthy, right? Like, wealth is genuinely a mindset, and wealth is about your fitness, your health, the money you make, your ability to take care of people, your ability to make decisions. Like wealth is an abundance of all these things that make you the best version of yourself. And I think people don't understand that. But I mean, I think the thing with value and money though is that there is a correlation, right? I think I used to think at the start, oh, how can I provide value and make money? And at the start, you need to understand money, right? Like, that's the thing I've realized is a lot of us at the beginning of our journeys, 90% of people in the world are financially illiterate, right? Like, people do not understand what credit is. People do not understand that the Bank of England is a private
That's one thing I will
entity.
say is I've had very good financial literacy from young. So the way I started reselling was I was leveraging credit. So I was like to my dad, look, I can buy this, sell this. You've probably heard this story before. I was like to him, look, I can buy this for £100. I can sell it for £200. I don't have £100, so could I just use your credit card? Buy it, sell it. You get your £100 back and I take the 100. So that's how I originally started leveraging credit.
Your dad wasn't a very good businessman, huh? No commission.
Nah, it was for him. It was never about that. He's like, all right, cool.
Yeah, you're his son.
If my
I'm
son's
joking.
doing
Yeah,
something for himself, like, let me give him the best shot of it, type of thing. Obviously, for him at the start, it was very skeptical. But when he saw the results, he was like, all right, cool, fair play. So he was like, all right, cool, you can do it more. Just make sure you know what you're doing. And if you do fuck up and you do lose money, just know it's your ass I'm going to be on, and I'm going to get the money from you, either now or at some point later down the line. So that's how it's always been. So, yeah, I've been leveraging credit ever since young. Even starting up my first couple of Etsy stores, I was leveraging credit.
Yeah.
To this day, I have not really used any of my own hard-earned money. So like, I've never worked a job. So I've always been making money some way, shape or form.
Yeah.
So I've never had a job, right? So I've never had money that I've needed to earn. Like, all my money has just been through making my money or someone else's money make me money, basically.
And I think that's what people, like, that's what you need to understand is once you become financially literate and you start to understand that it's just about cash flow. Like, you just need to make sure more comes in than goes out. Once you've figured that out and you understand that, and then just focus on providing value to society, because like Elon Musk says, the amount of money you make is directly proportionate to the value you provide, right? So the more value you provide, the more money you'll make. That's the way to make money. That's how you provide value to society. That's how you kill it in every realm of life. And I think that's what we're probably starting to learn a bit more, right? Is the more value we provide to others, the more we see the returns come our way.
Yeah, so like, to be fair, recently I feel like me and you both have been providing a lot more value to certain people. And I am starting to slowly
reap the rewards. A lot of them are intangible, right? Like, I would say some of the things that I've learned, working for one of my mentors, helping him out with his business is I've learned how to run back-end operations. Is if you can, it's like, it goes back to the point that we mentioned earlier about just think sometimes, right? If you're able to analyze things and you're able to understand what you're acquiring from these situations, you start to level up a lot more. But it's like, leveling up is not an overnight thing. It's not a week thing. Leveling up is a never-ending concept until the day you die.
It's something that you have to continuously do, because if you stop, you fall behind. But if you continue, you get ahead by so much. Because let's say, for example, go into a compound calculator, right? Put in $1 and do the interest rate at 1% a day for a year. See how much it increases by. Then do it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. By the end of the 10 years, it's like $69 billion, right? So if you're getting 1% better every day for just 4 or 5 years, you're going to be set, like, unstoppable type of person. But if you stop that, you fall behind by so much, because it's a compounding effect. 1% better every day. It's not just adding one, it's 1% each time. So it compounds in that sense. So you can become a lot better very quickly if you're doing the right things, but you can also become a lot worse if you stop doing anything, like stop doing stuff.
What are some mistakes that you've made on your journey that if somebody was starting their journey today, you know, maybe they were going to start their sales job or start an e-commerce store, what were the three biggest mistakes that you've made that you could stop somebody else from making before they got started?
Once you have momentum and you've got momentum, do not lose it.
Yeah.
Losing momentum, I lost momentum and it me royally.
Yeah.
Like, I still kick myself in the foot today for losing momentum.
Yeah.
But happens, innit?
That is especially when you start getting results.
Yeah,
Right? Like this is
yeah.
what I learned is if you're working and after 3 months you start to see success and you take your foot off the gas,
You're
not going to see success anymore because you have to think about it. The success that you're getting in that third month is because of month one's work.
Exactly.
So if month 3 and month 4 you don't put in that work, month 6 and 7 you're not going to see the success. So
There you
like,
go.
don't stop when things are going well.
Exactly. And then another thing I would say is not focusing enough on mindset, because I would say, especially at the beginning, the environment affects mindset. So for me, I was making a lot of money and I was in a very bad environment. So I thought I was doing very, very well. But now I'm doing even better than I was then. And I don't think I'm doing enough because of the people I've surrounded myself in and the environment I'm in. So focusing on mindset is very, very crucial. Especially, like, that's one thing I up on a lot as a young person. But because I started my journey so early, I'm still ahead by a mile, all right? And then another thing I'd say is not making enough mistakes. Make mistakes because you only learn through making mistakes. People learn through experiences, right? A lot of you are scared to make mistakes and I don't know why. As humans, we learn through experience, right?
Failure is a synonym of learning.
Exactly. No, message me on Instagram, yeah? Just say, oh, I'm scared to make mistakes. Watch how I can rip you a new one, bruv. I swear to God. Because it pisses me off because one of my younger cousins, I'm going to make sure he watches this, right? He knows what I'm talking about. He's 16 now. He is such a he doesn't like making mistakes and it pisses me off. I'm like, you're 16, you've got nothing to lose. Imagine he's good at table tennis and he didn't want to enter a table tennis competition because, oh, I'm scared to lose.
Why do you think people are like that though? Why do you think people are scared of failing?
Conditioned are, like, for example, me, I never give the education, right? But a lot of people from similar backgrounds as me, Indian parents, or my parents are born here, so not even Indian.
I'd also say it's the education system.
Yeah, the education system. Oh, if you fail in school, you're going to be nothing in life. Look at me. I can't even go to university and I made more than university professors. And it will continue to go up. Next thing you know, I'll have my own university.
It's very true. It's
genuinely a situation of...
Failing is a good thing. People don't realize this, right? Like, if you want to level up, leveling up only happens from the setbacks and the difficulties that you go through in life. Life is a roller coaster, right? You go through waves. It's up and down, up and down. If it's always up, 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 and you're always at a high, how are you actually leveling up if you're not going through adversity? Like, I never used to realize when people used to say, enjoy the journey to the top. I'm trying to do that more now because once you do get to the top that you think is the top, then what? Like, there's so much more to life than just becoming a multimillionaire or becoming a multi-billionaire. Like, you have to try and become a master of all, right?
That's also a reason why I have my goal set so high to be a billionaire, just because it means that the journey is going to last so long for me. And it means that I can enjoy it for a lot longer.
I would say that the really cool thing that you should focus on if you do want to become a billionaire, because I've heard other people say this, it's not about having $1 billion in the bank. It's about the person that you have to become to get the $1 billion.
And I just want to be the best. Like, I just have I just need to be the best.
And so that's if that's what pushes you, that's the important thing, right? You know, you've gone down this entrepreneurial path. You're accountable. You know, you've gone down it, and it comes with its ups and downs, right? What is the best part about being an entrepreneur, and what is the most difficult thing about being an entrepreneur?
I'll start with the most difficult thing. It's the ups and downs you go through and the disheartenment you get from it. Because there's times where you get the highest highs that you can't get anywhere else and it's amazing. But the lows you get really you up. Like,
there's more lows than highs.
There's a lot more lows than highs, but it's almost like a cycle. So you go low, high, low, high, low, high. But when you hit the lows aren't the same lows at the beginning. The lows at the end are your highs at the beginning.
Yeah.
So you go through the cycle. My low in a couple years' time will be shit. I've only made 100 grand this month. But my highs now is shit. I hit 20K this month, right? So it goes in cycles and it gets to a point where it doesn't affect you like it used to. So I would say the lows and highs of what you get, like, you have to understand. One thing I've had to learn a lot recently is there's always going to be other opportunities. So stay aware and not let myself get too over like shit going south. So that's one thing I learned. 1.5 years ago when I had the dry period with reselling, right? Like, honest to God, it got to the point where I was just in bed for 2 weeks, didn't do a thing. And then it's stuff like that. And through that experience, I learned, all right, cool, that happened. But then I've gone through tougher periods now and I've not been like that. The best thing about being an entrepreneur, in my opinion, is the people you get to meet and the experiences you get to do. Because it's just things that are inaccessible to most.
I would have just straight up said the freedom. Like, I'm the boss.
For me, like, freedom, I've always essentially had. So
Yeah.
it's like second nature to me. Like, I've never really been tied down. So it's not something I think about too much. I think for you it's a bit different because you had a 9 to 5 in uni. But for me, I've always essentially had that freedom, right?
So that's like you take it for like it's part of life.
Exactly. So then for me, I'd say it's the experiences I get to do. So I get to travel the world every month. I get to look after my family. I get to do things for my family. And then for me, it's just the experiences I get. It's like, it's inaccessible to anyone else. Like the things my dad did when he was 19 years old, right? The things he wanted to do, he could not do. But I can do them essentially, right? So stuff like that. So I would say the experiences you get from being an entrepreneur are second to none. Like, I can fly to any country in the world and know someone. You can drive supercars. We've driven in supercars, stuff like that. That's like childhood dreams for most people that they never get to achieve. And I'm there just sitting, like, we're driving about, having the time of our lives, stuff like that.
To basically wrap up, the final thing that I basically wanted to ask you was, if you had to choose between being wealthy, unhappy, and unfulfilled, or poor, living in a really small 3-bedroom house with 10 people, no money, can barely eat, but you're fulfilled and you're happy, which one are you picking?
That's a tough one because for me, it's one part of me is one of them, and the other part of me is another.
I'm asking for the whole part.
So for the whole part,
you have to pick one. You're either given an abundance of wealth, but you're never going to be happy or fulfilled, or you're going to be broke for your entire life, always scrapping on bills, but you have fulfillment.
I'll be so real. As long as I'm still the person I want to be, so like I'm still close to God, right? And I'm wealthy and I'm fulfilled, I'd rather choose that.
Wealthy and unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Really?
Just because.
But how can you be close to God and be unfulfilled?
But that's the thing, because that's a good question. Because one thing for me is I know money isn't everything, right?
Now, do you know what you basically told me with that answer? That even though we spoke earlier about money versus fulfillment, at this point in your life, you're choosing the money over the fulfillment.
But what is fulfillment?
That's a whole topic for another day.
What is fulfillment? Because for me,
feeling enriched, feeling like you've done your part in society, feeling like you're just satisfied. Like, I wouldn't say satisfied, but you're living a life where you're enriching, like you're enriched.
All right, cool. But could you not argue that if I'm a billionaire, even though it doesn't affect me much, if I could give $1 million to society,
Yeah, but I'm saying that you're in that position and you still always feel unfulfilled.
Then I'll always have the need to do more so that I can put more good into the world.
So you'd still rather be unfulfilled than have money?
Because it's not my job in this world to feel fulfilled. It's my job to do the right things. And along doing the right things is making a lot of money. So money is one way and one avenue of helping others, right? And I don't need to feel the fulfillment as long as other people around me are reaping the rewards. Mm-hmm. For me personally, I'll be unhappy. I don't give a because I will put my people's happiness above mine, especially my family. 100%.
Fair enough. And like real last question this time. If somebody is watching this at home and they are in a similar position that you were in a couple of years ago, so either they've just done their IGCSEs and they don't want to go into college, or they've finished their college and they don't want to go to university, or they've dropped out, they really want to pursue this entrepreneurial life, their parents are against it, everyone around them is telling them not to do it, but they just know that this is the path that they have to go down. Give me a 3-step approach to how they can get started and deal with all the mitigating circumstances around it.
Distance yourself from the people that are against you.
How do you do that with parents?
So, for example, one thing I would do is be like, my parents would go to work and I'd be at home, or staying awake later in the night when they're sleeping type of thing. So then it's just you, yourself, and then it's only you affecting yourself, not the people around you, because you can't control what the other people around you say, but you can control what you think and what you say. right? And you're in control. One thing a lot of people don't realize is you're in control of your emotions. You're in control of what you think, what you say, etc. So you can have a positive effect on yourself. However, those around you can have a negative effect on you without you doing anything, right? So I would say distance yourself from those against you. Focus on your mindset and work at the right things. Work smart and work hard. If you can work smart and you're working an hour a day, work smart 12 hours a day and you'll be elite. So I would say, 3 things. Distance yourself from those against you. Focus on your mindset and work hard and smart.
Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate your support. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, comment below letting me know what you thought and who you want next. Thank you to Rayyan for taking time to come on. I appreciate it.
Good.
I will put his socials down below where you can follow him. Twitter
and Instagram, yeah.
So follow him on Twitter somewhere here or here. We'll figure that out. And thank you guys for watching and see you next week.
Bye. Gotta do it every time.
Does this every